Yes, Sebi, it was quite the spectacle, and here we are in the place to be. That has been the place to be all week. Las Cibeles, this is where Real Madrid come to celebrate pretty much anything, and they've been here already twice with their fans in less than a week. First celebrating when they won La Liga's official title against Espanyol at the weekend, and then again, they didn't even win the Champions League yet, but Sid, it was such a spectacle that it was worth a celebration here, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, bear in mind that it's been a little while since they've been in a final. The nature of the way that they got there, the fact that it was a third comeback in a row, the fact that nobody really truly thought that this Real Madrid team was good enough to reach a final. Certainly not when you get a run like they've had. They've played the champions of France, they've played the champions of England, they've played the current European champions. They've now got potentially the favourite in the final, and it was just an extraordinary night.
And I mean, the city has been absolutely buzzing since then. Even I've been watching the local channels, and even the ones that don't have anything to do with sports, they've been going out to talk to the fans just to see what it was like, because as Sebi mentioned, one of the headlines has been "Let God come down and explain exactly what we saw." And I feel like even though we saw the city celebrating after they won the La Liga title, this time it feels a bit different. It feels a bit more momentous, doesn't it?
Definitely. And bear in mind that when they were here celebrating the league title, one of the main chants that the fans engaged in was "Si se puede," yes we can.
Yep.
Because of course the focus was, right, we've won the league now, a league title that they knew they were going to win weeks ago because they had such a big lead in the table, and it was really about saying, right, we've won this, now we go and do the really big one, because Real Madrid's whole identity is bound up in the European Cup. But it's not just that, it's the way that it happened, and I think that's why this feels so big. That said, they haven't won it yet. They've still got a final to go.
And I mean, we were just talking at the weekend of the fact that Real Madrid, at least when we've been watching them on La Liga, on ESPN all season long, they've not really blown teams out of the waters, but they always seem to find a way to claw their way back. So how surprised were you really with this result? Because so many said, we know this story, we've seen it play out so many times already in La Liga. Fair play, it is a big opposition in Manchester City.
You know this because we've talked about it off air. I was absolutely convinced this would happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely convinced that somehow, even if Manchester City played the better football, had more of the ball, created more chances, I was convinced that Real Madrid would find a way through. Now, I'm going to be honest, it had got so late into the game and the gap was so big, Real Madrid still needed 2 goals with 40 seconds of normal time to go, that even I had started to think, well, maybe it doesn't happen this time. I mean, so much. I'll give you the best example of how I'd started to think that maybe it wouldn't happen this time. When Grealish missed that chance, which it turned out was a brilliant save from Courtois, I must confess, I hadn't realised that at first. It felt in the stadium like it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Well, he's missed that chance, which would have ended it, but it's kind of ended anyway. The thing is that once Madrid scored the first, the whole place knew that the second was coming, and then the third was definitely coming.
I mean, so much so that some of the fans actually walked out early. Some, not a lot, because my section was still very much packed, and they started singing Si se puede, and that was something you tasted, that the fans actually did have that belief. They didn't give up on them. We watched them in El Clásico when Barcelona were battering them at the Santiago Bernabeu, and the fans went quiet. I remember we were even joking, saying, is this a library?
Yeah.
But the fans never backed down once in this match, did they?
And in particular, once they got that goal, which kind of reignited it. And you go back to the first of these 3 extraordinary comebacks, the one against Paris Saint-Germain, and the stadium then, I think, felt that it had gone. Because although Paris Saint-Germain had only scored 1 goal, the sense of superiority was enormous. Then, when Real Madrid got the first goal, that changed everything. It was like someone had clicked the fingers or flicked a switch or had kind of lit a fuse or something. And everyone's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it changed. With Chelsea, I think we had a similar sort of thing. And this time around, even more so. As I say, I do think that towards the end, there was a sense that, okay, you get behind the team, you stay here, you support them through it, apart from the few that went early. But it's probably not going to happen. But once they got one, it's like, this is the moment we needed to believe that another miracle is possible.
From what we're seeing of Real Madrid this season, and this kind of never to say die attitude, and this character that we keep talking about, how much do we owe it to Carlo Ancelotti and his leadership, and how much of a factor could he be in as a leader going into the final?
I'll tell you who thinks that Carlo Ancelotti has got nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Carlo Ancelotti. Or at least if he doesn't think that, he keeps telling us that. And that, of course, is part of the reason for his success. He makes it about the players. He talks about them all the time. He essentially doesn't want the protagonism for himself. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight. And I actually think that is one of the reasons why this kind of thing can happen, because he has a trust in his players. And I think that even if that's not a case of building them up and saying, right, you're my leader, by trusting them, by listening to them, he effectively does infuse them with leadership because he's giving them the autonomy and, if you like, the status to say, I believe in you to do it. At the same time, and I really do think this is worth pointing out, he's made changes which have changed everything. In all 3 games, both Rodrigo and Camavinga have been sent on around about the hour or the 70-minute mark, and that has really freshened things up. And I think we've seen a very clear example of the fact that Ancelotti believes in the players that he's got, but if not, he goes to that word he keeps using, which he always pronounces in his own special way, energia. He wants the energy on the pitch. He wants the legs on the pitch, the lungs on the pitch, those players who can keep on running. They started with 4 midfielders. By the end of the game, of that starting 4 midfield, only 1 was still on the pitch, and it was Valverde, the one with the legs. The other 3, that famous, that historic Real Madrid field, had all gone.
Yep, imagine that. The man knows exactly what he's doing now. Historically, despite all Real Madrid have accomplished in the Champions League, despite the leadership of Carlo Ancelotti, going into this final against Liverpool, they still are being viewed as underdogs, Sid. But do you feel like this momentum's kind of on their side? Like it's now their destiny, the way they got through PSG, Chelsea, Man City, and now up against another big dog?
Honestly, I don't know the answer.
You won't be surprised.
My kind of intuitive response to this is somewhere along the line, Real Madrid will find a way. But that is really just a kind of a case of having seen miracle after miracle after miracle and thinking, there's no way this doesn't get completed now. And yet it doesn't work like that because things still need to happen. So take the game at the Bernabeu against City. Yes, at the end of it, we can all say we knew it.
Yeah.
And I genuinely do think that when they'd scored the first, we all thought, oh, there really is a chance now. But before that, maybe we didn't. And it takes things to happen. So if Grealish's shot comes off the line but gets followed up by Foden, or if Mendy doesn't get to it, or if Courtois doesn't get a stud, not just his boot, a stud to that ball and it goes wide, then all of this talk about, oh, it was inevitable, we all pretend we never thought that. And post-event is very easy. But yes, I must confess right now, there's a bit of me that thinks, put it this way, I think one way of looking at it is to say the fact that it's happened before makes the fact that it will happen again more likely. Why? Because it's in the mind, because it's psychological, and that plays in the mind of both the Real Madrid players and their opponents. So if there is a moment in the final in which Real Madrid can reach out and grab the opportunity, I think they will. The question mark, I suppose, is whether Liverpool can be good enough to make sure that Real Madrid don't have that opportunity. And Manchester City thought that they were good enough for Madrid not to have that opportunity until the 90th minute.
Oh my goodness, bring on that final in Paris. We are absolutely licking our chops for that one. But before that, Real Madrid still do have a pretty big one coming up this weekend. It is the Madrid derby. Sid and I will both be there. It will be on ESPN. But right now, La Cibeles has been a very, very happy goddess because her team, Sebi, have been doing her very proud here in Madrid.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.